Hey, how's it going, guys? I'm sitting down here right now getting ready to do a review on this scope, and I wanted to answer a question that I get asked a lot, and that is, why do you prefer fixed power scopes, you old-timey son of a bitch? Give me just a second. We'll work it out. Okay, now a lot of guys that are my age and older can remember a time when variable power scopes were looked on very suspiciously. You were careful not to bump them. If you trued up on a particular power, you pretty well left it there. Changing the power changed the point of impact. They were heavier, they weren't as durable, they weren't as dependable, and I guess to a lot of guys they have trouble letting that go. For me, that's not the case at all. I realize that today's variables are nothing like they were 50 years ago. These things are rock solid. I mean, get what you pay for, but on the good one, they're rock solid. You don't have to worry about dependability. The point of impact shift between the magnification ranges, normally that only happens on the real budget, entry-level type scopes. But in just my personal head, when I think of fixed power versus variable power, this is kind of what I see in my head. Upsides and downsides to the fixed power scopes. I guess first would be the downside, which would be maybe it's not quote unquote so versatile, especially if you get way too much magnification for what you're going to do. I mean, my main #1 air rifle has a 24 power Weaver with a 1/8 inch target dot, which if you've never looked at one of them, the dot literally looks like it floats in space, and it's about the size of a gnat at 20 yards. It's that small. So for me to go out pig hunting or something with that would just be ridiculous. On the other hand, if I were going prairie dog hunting with a full power Weaver K4, that would be a mistake too. But a lot of times with fixed powers, the main, I guess, downside is the selection's not as good as it used to be. Probably 99% of the hunters out there, 95%, use variable power scopes now. Very few use fixed power. I still prefer them. I looked through my gun closet before I came out to make this video, and I have scopes in there, but of the mounted scopes, the ones that are actually attached to rifles, all but one is a fixed power, including the scope that's on my crossbow. So for me, I have guns that are built for a specific purpose. That purpose gun has a purpose scope on it. I have a hog rifle that has an 8x56 Collis with a German #4 crosshair, which you've never seen it. It looks like fence posts in there, but at night this thing's incredibly bright. It doesn't have an adjustable objective or anything like that, but it's one of the brightest scopes I've ever looked through, and I've looked through a ton of them. I have a 6 power on my crossbow from SWFA. I have several of the fixed SWFAs. I'm a big fan of theirs. Like I say, I have the Weaver fixed power T24. So like I say, because I have more than one rifle, each one kind of has its own purpose, and with the purpose guns, this is what I do. And just in case you're curious, on my deer rifle, I hunt with my dad's old 30-06, and I use a fixed 6 power European scope without adjustable objective. It's bright, it's light. See, I bought it off of eBay, and it's well worn, but the glass is perfect, and it does everything I would ever need to do deer hunting wise. All right, the upsides to having a fixed power scope. One, when you go to the range, you don't have the same damn thing everybody else has got, which is kind of neat. Me personally, I'm a little bit of a scope snob. I wish I could afford to be more of a scope snob, but I like to order some of my scopes from Leopold Custom Shop. They have the FX3 in 8, 12, and you can get the adjustable objective turned down. You can get the crosshairs put on a different way. You can set a scope up really uniquely for yourself, which I like. Normally with a fixed power, they'll be a little lighter. That's not always the case, but with the older scopes they are. And if you don't get too much scope, definitely they will be. But then again, you have scopes out there now that are built to be light. The Leopold VX2 line is probably as nice and light as far as a lightweight scope and you could ask for. And where my SWFA weighs twice what one of those Leopolds weigh. But like I say, sometimes they can be lighter. Sometimes they can be shorter. Some of the older scopes that are out there, you still find some of the Burris Compacts 6 powers. I mean, those things aren't that long, and they're a nice little scope. But like I say, a lot of the arguments that used to be out there, they're lighter. They're more compact, they're more dependable, all that stuff. A lot of that stuff just doesn't apply anymore. For me, it doesn't have to. I just like knowing when I look through the scope what the image is going to look like. And that brings me to the main thing that I like best about fixed power scopes. Okay, I have many, many hours setting on a prairie dog town. And when you're basically sitting still and you're shooting in ranges out to basically as far as you want to shoot, and you stay with a fixed power scope, and most of the time that I use a 10 power scope, and I prefer the reference points, of course, for holdover. But if you use the same power scope and you use it a lot, when you look through the scope and say you're out in the woods, you're on the prairie dog town, you're just out sniping birds, if you're constantly jacking with the magnification, you lose your perception of how far something looks through the scope. If every time you look through the scope, you're looking at the exact same image on the crosshair, the exact same image on the target, you have a scale built in your head that helps you decide how far it is and how much to hold over. But even if you're constantly messing with the magnification, you lose all that. I mean, you literally lose it. It doesn't matter if you've got a first focal plane. A first focal plane will keep your reference points the same, but the size of the target grows and shrinks. So it throws your perception off. So for me, if I'm out doing something like that, there's a lot of times I'll take my rifle and I'll go out to my deer lease and I'll sit there with my air gun and I'll sit there and snipe little sparrows and stuff. I mean, all day long if there's nothing to do. And I prefer to do it with a fixed power scope. It's neat to turn the magnification way up and, get it really zoomed up in your face to shoot it. But you lose your depth perception. There's something else guys don't think about. When they turn the magnification all the way up, especially on a prairie dog town with real high magnification, is when the gun recoils, whether it's a Springer, whether or not it's a 2250 improved, when the gun recoils, it blacks you out before the impact. So when it does impact, you can't see where it hit to make a sight correction in a high power scope. With a lower power scope or a properly powered scope, you have a lot of field of view around it so you can see your impact. A lot of times also with a fixed power scope, they have a larger field of view. That's not always the case, but a lot of times it is. I mean, seriously, you can take a 10 power SWFA and look through it, and except for the clarity and the image size, you would swear you were looking through a 6 power scope because the field of view is so wide on those things. And that's something else that's nice about a fixed power scope. A lot of times that's kind of a little freebie that you get thrown in there. Okay, something else that's really nice with the fixed power scopes, especially if you're like me, I'm extremely ADD and I lose my focus real quick. If I've got a scope and I want to try a different scope, and then I want to try a different gun, then I want to try this scope combo, and most of you guys get what I'm saying. With a fixed power scope, they sell much faster. I don't care if you put it on Craigslist, if you put it on one of the gun forums or whatever, a fixed power scope always sells faster. Now, if it's a 36 power Leopold and you only want $50 off retail, sure, you're going to sit on that for a while. But if you'll price it right, you can sell it fast because you can't go to a gun show and not see 5,000 VX3s at a big gun show. But go to that same gun show and look for a fixed power Untitled. Look for a US Optics. Look for a Collis. Look for a Swarovski. Look for a Zeiss Smith Bender. You may find one, but you're not going to find many. And the ones that are there get scooped up just like that if they're priced right. So for me, when I buy and sell scopes, when I do the fixed powers, like I say, I can sell them a lot quicker when I get ready to turn them because my attention's lasted all of 15 seconds and I'm ready to try something else. Okay, now there's some spots you can find some of these scopes, especially the ones that are out of production. Of course, go on Guns America, Sniper Central. For me, I buy a lot of my stuff off of Airgun Nation. Rimfire Central's another good one. You can either put a want to buy in there or just keep an eye out. But there's some fantastic used scopes out there that I guess, you know, the market wasn't there, so they quit making them. Weaver made a 15 power here a while back. It's not really impressive looking, but it tracks great. And they're a real nice scope when you can find one. The little Burris Compact 6s, great scopes. The European fixed power scopes, you can pick one of those up on eBay for probably $400, $500, $600, and I mean, these things are unbelievable. I mean, when you hear about scopes that have the ED or HD lenses, these things have that kind of stuff, and they're 20 years old. These things were the absolute state of the art. In Europe, they do a lot of night hunting, according to what I've heard. I don't know, hell, I live in the States. But these things are bright. They're not built to be light. I mean, these things are built like an SWFA. You can drive nails with those damn things. But there's a good selection of them used on eBay. There's a lot of places you can go find some of these older fixed power scopes. And go to somewhere like bench rest shoot, a silhouette shoot. But go to some place where guys are doing real precision rifle shooting, and ask those guys about scopes. A lot of those old timers will tell you it's a fixed power or nothing for them. They don't want a jack with a variable power. They don't want anything else in their scope setup that's going to add another variable to whether or not their point of impact shifts. With a fixed power, it takes a lot of that out. Another good thing about a lot of the fixed powers is on the eye focus ring, they have the locking eye focus ring. They don't have the quick eye focus. The quick eye focus is nice on a good scope. On a crummy scope, it sucks ass because they'll sit there and wobble around like a damn wobble socket. So on a good fixed power scope, they either lock or they're like this SWFA and they're just tight as a drum. But like I say, there's a lot to like about the fixed power scopes. I'm a different kind of guy. I look different. I think different. And I appreciate different. So for me, the fixed powers make a lot of sense. Guys, thanks for watching my channel. I genuinely appreciate it. And if you don't mind, share with your buddies, like, subscribe, and stay tuned. I've got some more really nice scope reviews coming. And I also have some rifle reviews coming when I recover from the surgery that I had about 4 weeks ago. And I've got just a couple of weeks left. As soon as I get through with it, I've got a few air guns lined up I'm going to do some reviews on. Guys, thanks again. Have a great day.